and welcome to the Illustrator Challenges. I'm your host, Julia Vaca. Welcome everybody. Today's challenge is going to be very fun as usual. We're going to be designing a modular pattern. Those modular patterns you might know from, I don't know, beer brands, cider brands. You can see them a lot on packaging, and those are repetitive patterns that are maybe placed in squares, and you can see kind of a variety of color, and that is super fun. And I can show you an example that I actually just saw on color.adobe.com. Let's see if I reload this. Never mind, but it was showing me a little pop-up window that I can't open right now. But anyway, so I'm super excited to show you how to make that kind of pattern, and we are going to jump right into this with Adobe Illustrator. And I have prepared this amazing file for you that you can access in the description below. So just scroll down and open the starter file. And of course, you will have to have Illustrator downloaded. You can also get a test version if this is your first time, just to try it out and experiment and explore and design along with me. All right, once you've opened the file, you can see that I've prepared something really cool for you today. You can see I've prepared this little mock-up of a packaging for an apple cider. And we are going to be adding some pattern, a modular illustration pattern in the background to make this packaging even more exciting. First things first, let's get some colors and then we're going to start build out shapes. And every single one of these squares right here is going to be filled with a shape or with a fill color, and that is going to be our modular illustration pattern. All right, friends, so let's get started, and I'm going to go and start with color.adobe.com. Here I'm going on to trends, and inside trends I'll see some of these amazing color palettes. Wow, this one is really cool, and I'm just taking a screenshot. You can also just download it as a JPEG or add it to your library. I'm going to just pull this into my Illustrator. Bam, there we go. So now I'm going to be creating a little color palette. Right now this is an image file, but I'm going to use my rectangle tool and create a couple color samples, color swatches if you will, using the letter I on my keyboard and sampling some of these colors. Letter V for the selection, holding option, clicking and dragging, create a copy, and we're going to hold shift and select the second one to create more copies, just like that. And there we go. You can see, you can hear I had a lot of coffee today. That's why I'm talking so fast, but it's better. And my thinking definitely has improved since this morning. Okay, now we're going to sample all of these colors by selecting these rectangles one by one and sampling the colors from this screenshot. Again, I'm selecting the rectangle with the letter V to get into the selection tool. Click on it, letter I, sample the color, letter V, click on the next one, letter I, sample the next color, letter V, click on the next one, letter I, sample the color, letter V, click on the next one, letter I, sample the next one. And this is how I work with shortcuts. Shortcuts are making life so much easier rather than me going into the tool panel and selecting the tool. Of course, the eyedropper tool is here as well, and the selection tool is here as well, so you can click on those as well. But I prefer using the shortcuts to make my life easier and faster. Now I would like for example to add one more color to this, because I feel like this color palette might be a little bit monotone, and I'm going to delete this image here, which is a screenshot, and I'm going to add some warm tones to this. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to custom select a color, double clicking into the fill, and maybe something more like a warm, I don't know, like a grapefruit color, something that looks fresh and exciting. Okay, double click again, and I'm going to select a lighter shade. Yeah, I think this color palette looks perfect to me. Now, what we want to do is, since we have our color palette now, and you can literally create your own color palette, you can just take an image. So here we have, for example, this image or any other image. You can literally take a screenshot and you can place it into your Illustrator and sample some of these colors. Again, I'm taking a screenshot, and you can take those screenshots from anywhere you want, right? And again, you could do the same thing from a photo. just simply grab this color palette, and with the letter I and the letter V, again, kind of in exchange and in, yeah, collaboration, you are going to sample some of these colors. All right, so this is how that works, and I would like you to create your own color palette, or you can of course just grab this exact same one that I have. Now we have the color palette, we have our grid, and right now the grid is locked, so we're going to unlock it with Command Option and 2. And now I'm going to take this grid right here, and I'm going to place it here to the side, because here is where the experimentation is. Here's the behind the scenes, basically, right? Where we're going to experiment and try new things out. Okay, now I'm going to lock this one with Command and 2, and I'm going to work on top while this grid is locked, because I don't really want to use parts of the grid. I just want to use it for my orientation, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with simple shapes. And one of these shapes could be, for example, the ellipse tool. So a circle, right? And I'm going to take this circle and I'm going to place it right in the middle of a rectangle of one of these grids. Now the grids are locked, my circle isn't, so it makes it really easy to work with. Now with the letter I, I'm going to sample a color. Now we have this circle filling this rectangle, and I'm going to use a rectangle to give it a background, right? So I'm going to go in, create a background, Command Shift and square bracket open, or right click, arrange, send to back to bring this rectangle to the back, and again letter I for the eyedropper to eyedrop another color. So, and you can feel free to select the color that works best with this design, whatever you want it to be. Now holding Option and Shift and clicking and dragging, I'm going to select with the letter I the next color. And here I'm going to maybe create a different kind of shape. So here maybe I'm going to go in and create an ellipse that's half cut. So I have an ellipse here, and now I'm going to go in the direct selection tool, select one of the points and click delete on my keyboard. Then letter I on my keyboard and sample one of these really cool apple color tones. All right, now we can create a copy by holding Option and holding Shift. We're clicking and turning it around by holding one of the corners, and we can create another variation like this one. Now we can also have a variation that's simply a half circle, and we can recolor it and make it look completely different just because just because we can. All right, so this is that. Now we have a bunch of circles. Now let's distribute them a little bit so they're not all too close next to each other, and I'm going to place them kind of like apart from each other. So in between we can have something different, because why not? We like the variety. Okay, holding Option, clicking and dragging, I'm creating another copy of that, and I'm using the eyedropper letter I to sample another color. Now let's work with some triangles, and I can show you a really cool trick that you probably didn't know. If you use the polygon tool, you can click and drag a polygon. Let me actually try that on a different spot so you can actually see what is happening. So click and drag a polygon, and then while clicking, I'm not letting go of the mouse yet. You can click the bottom or up key on your keyboard, and if you click up, the amount of corners will increase, and if you click down, the amount of corners will decrease, and this is how we can create a triangle. Cool, right? So now we're going to make it perfectly kind of horizontal, and we're going to place it into our rectangle right here, just like that. And of course we're going to make it a different color, and we can also make it kind of fit into this exact spot, okay, by using the letter A on our keyboard. For the direct selection tool, we're selecting the top point and clicking and dragging it to the top all the way. Okay, this is cool. Now let's give it some other color, because this color is already repeating here. Clicking letter I on my keyboard, I'm going to give it a color that's nowhere close by. So let's experiment, and maybe this one can be something different. Yay, this works really well. Okay, now we have that. Now let's create another option, and I'm again holding Option, clicking and dragging, And I'm going to create something very fun now, and that's going to be two rectangles in one square. Okay, I'm going to size down the rectangle so it fits just about the half of the square. I'm going to click Option, hold and drag, and I'm going to pull it down. Now you can see we're missing a little bit still because we were not as perfect with our resizing. So we're going to select both, and we're going to drag it down so it just fits our square. And now, of course, let's recolor one. And I'm going to use this brown here, just like that. Okay, so we have a couple shapes already, and you can keep going until you have this pattern that you can repeat, and the pattern can consist of 6 modules, of 12 modules, how many modules you want, how many modules you need to kind of apply this pattern and for it to not look repetitive. All right, so who is here in the chat? We have Javier, we have Afroja, Van is here, and Wade is here. Cool. All right, so what's going on? Richard is here. Awesome. Cool. Hi everyone from streams before. Hello and welcome. Come say hi in the chat. Let me know where y'all are from and leave a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. I would love some feedback and some, yeah. I want to hear if you were able to follow and if this was easy to kind of repeat. Okay, so let's create a couple more variations of this. And now we've been working with filled shapes. We can also work with shapes that are not filled. We can work with lines. So let's create a copy, holding Option, clicking and dragging down. We're going to create a copy of this. Letter I on my keyboard, and I'm going to sample the brown color, letter V to get back to the selection tool. And now I'm going to work with the pencil tool. One of my favorite tools, pencil tool. And if you double click on the tool, you can adjust the fidelity from smooth to accurate. If you have it on accurate and you draw, your line will be exactly like you draw it. All right. Versus if you click on smooth fidelity, Illustrator will help you to creating a smoother curve. So for example, I have something like this. See how Illustrator helps me to make it more smooth. Okay. So I want to create a smoother curve, and now I'm going to create some type of like a spiral in here, and now the spiral doesn't have any color, right? So I'm going into stroke and I'm going to make it a white color. Okay, I can give it a couple more tries since this one does not feel 100% to me yet. This curve is not perfect yet. I could go and adjust the curve, or I can just simply draw another one. And if I draw a little bit faster, that might help because I'm going to create less points and I'm going to make it a little bit more perfect. Okay, this is cool. So let's remove this one right here. And we're going to keep this one. And we can also sample for the stroke, we can sample one of these colors as well. So I have the stroke and I'm going to click the letter I on my keyboard again, and I can sample one of these color tones. Now you can see that this turned into the fill of this line, and I want to turn this around right here, swap fill and outline. There we go. Now going into our properties, we can go and increase the stroke a little bit, maybe not as much, maybe just a little bit. How about, and I think we're still in inches, so let's go and check our preferences, and I want to have my units set to pixels, stroke, also pixels, and type points. Okay, now I'm going to reduce the size of the stroke just a little bit, and you can feel whatever feels best, just like so. And now you can see our stroke kind of reaches out of the square a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to clip it. We're going to create a little frame for it using the rectangle tool, creating a rectangle right around the, and we don't need a stroke here, right around the square, and holding shift, sorry. So we have created a rectangle, letter V, holding shift, we're selecting the second one, and now we're making the clipping mask. There we go. So this looks very different, right, from the others. And now we can, again, we can play around with the colors, whatever we think works best. So now we already have some really cool modules, and we can create some variety of these modules by simply adjusting the color, or also maybe turning them. So how can we create variety within this module? We can turn this around, right, like this. We can create another variation that looks the other way, or maybe looks up like that. In this case, we can go in and also tilt it sideways. And maybe we can even tilt it this way. So we are basically creating variations of our modules. And again, to copy, you can simply click Command C and Command V, or hold Option, click and drag after selection. Okay, so we can, here we don't have a lot of option. Our only option for this one is to tilt it and yeah, to turn this around. One more option I see, which could also be really fun, is we could turn one of these guys around like that. So that will make it a different kind of variation. Now, of course, we can go in and create even more variation by using different colors. So for example, we can go in and copy this, create a copy, and we can adjust this orange maybe to a different color, like so. And like that, we can create some really cool variations and experiment with color. Okay, so I'm gonna keep on going with this one right here. I'm gonna turn it. And here what we can also do is, another variation could be, for example, one side is smaller, one side is bigger, or maybe it's even like a striped one. So that could also be an option for us. Okay, so basically take the initial idea and vary it a little bit, because why not? It creates some excitement, it creates some interesting dimension in here, and dynamic, right? Okay, so the circle is pretty straightforward. I feel like with the circle we can mostly play with the color, so we can go in and see what we can do with colors and make it look completely different. So you can see we have this really cool pattern already happening. Of course, this is all kind of very close by to each other, but once we mix it up, it will look really, really cool. So let's build out our pattern. And for that, what I like to do is I like to group all of these elements with Command and G. Sorry, Command and G. Select all of the objects of one module, click Command and G. Again, Command and G. And so that whenever I move these around, I don't have to worry about, you know, the elements kind of separating, or yeah, kind of going apart from each other and moving without me wanting it. Okay, so I am grouping all of these modules for them to kind of be usable for me. Command and G, Command and G, you get the drill. Okay, Command and G. You can also make it real fast. I'm trying to make it real fast, or you can also group it before you copy them. That will definitely save you some time. And as designers, we always think about, you know, how can I save myself a second even in my workflow? Okay, cool. So look at this. This looks so fun, and it's all kind of on brand because we've been reusing the same colors. So let's create some color variation in here, and I'm going to make these guys right here maybe this pink color, and here I'm going to change the background into a green tone, just so I don't have to work around it anymore as much. Again, I'm going to change that color, and here I'm going to change this color. All right. So this is becoming more fun, and as I'm experimenting, I can already start putting together patterns. Okay, so, and how I do that is, so we have these orange tones and we have these yellow tones, and we have lighter options and we have darker options, right? So for example, these right here are pretty light, and this one right here is pretty dark. So what I would do is I would try to mix them up as much as possible and kind of bring them together as opposites, so they are kind of like yeah, located next to each other. So basically I would take something like this and like that, and like this and like that, and maybe this one right here, just because it has this darker green background, and maybe this one right here. So yeah, just experiment with it and see how that kind of works, and how that yeah, combines, if that combines well or maybe not, and yeah, what you can do to make it better basically. So yeah, this is the process that I usually do whenever creating a pattern like this. And you can see this is all coming together and it looks so cool. I'm so happy about this. Okay, so let's grab another last one right here, and let's change the color of it so it differentiates a little bit from the other pattern module. And I'm going to make that outline a different color. I'm going to make it a darker color, just like so. All right, so, and now look, oh, let's change this orange actually to something different. Let's see what will match. Yeah, this might work. Now I'm also seeing that this guy right here might be a little too dark. Let's play around a little bit and let's see what we can come up with for these. Ah, we are back at pink. No. Okay, and see, this is exactly how that works when creating patterns. We might kind of get stuck on one color tone, and then we have to kind of swap around a little bit. Now we have too much green. How about we change these around like that? And now that looks really cool. It looks like an arrow. See that? And you know, this can also be part of a brand to use something like that. Cool. All right. Something like this. All right, yeah, I'm really satisfied with this. So let's take this group right here and let's place it into our apple cider. And I'm going to click Command Shift and O, or right click, arrange, bring to front. And this is creating a pattern for you in 25 minutes. I can't believe I'm doing this. But yeah, so this is that. And we can simply make this smaller, and we can also group this, Command and G, and now we can use this as a module. Now we can take this exact same piece of pattern and kind of repeat it over and over. So let me show you how that would work. I would probably do something like this, and then I would simply place it right underneath and maybe swap it, maybe move it around, maybe see kind of how that could work. Maybe do something like this. And now you can see we have this really cool pattern that we can apply literally to anything, right? And we can even make that a pattern that we can use within within shapes. So we can make that even a swatch. So now let's go in and remove these extra ones. And one thing that I want to change is also this background color, and I'm going to make that one of those brand colors. Letter I. I'm going to try out which color kind of works best for this. And maybe this brown. I'm kind of in between the brown and the green. What about the reds? Maybe this pink is also really nice. It's kind of very light. I wanted to give it a little bit more contrast. I'd say maybe let's use the brown. Okay, and now I'm gonna go in here as well, and I'm going to adjust this one just a little bit. I'm going to make that, turn that around, and make that a little bit kind of less melting together with the background. Okay, cool. So now we can take this same pattern, we can bring this down, and we can kind of repeat that, but without repeating, because we can simply turn it around. And now looking at this pattern, I'm noticing that this is quite repetitive. So I can take that piece and I can turn this around like this. And same thing here. I'm going to take that one and turn that into another direction, because why not? Isn't that fun? Check this out. I mean, I just created a really cool pattern that looks super on brand in under 30 minutes. And the longer you kind of play with this, the more kind of variation you can get and the more unique your pattern will get. Now, these lines, for example, right here, these squiggly lines, really gave it some character. And the more you kind of go away from the regular geometric shapes, and I see another little imperfection, so I think I'm going to turn this one around here as well, just like so. And here another repetition, going to turn that one around as well. Okay, Cool. So as I was mentioning, the more you go away from the geometric shapes, the more unique your pattern will get, and the more on brand and recognizable it can be. All right, cool. So we have this really cool packaging now that we can present to our client. Hey, I've created a custom brand pattern for you. And now you can go in and export the file by going to File, Export, Export As. And we're going to use artboards. You can export it as a PNG, export, okay. Yay! This is it, my friends. And we have exported this. If you end up posting this on Behance or Instagram, please tag me at Julia Masalska, Julia Vaca, but I'm on Instagram as Julia Masalska. Feel free to tag me, please. I want to see your designs, your pattern illustration designs. Cool. And otherwise, I've just exported my illustration, and I can now send it to my friends, send it to my client, post it online. All right, I'm out of breath. I was talking so fast and much today. Please check out the section, the description below, to participate in our Discord chat if you want to get some feedback on your work, or maybe some suggestions on how you can improve it. So yeah, meet me there. I'm also there in the chat. You can write me a message there in Discord, and maybe I can answer some questions if you have any. All right, my friends, it was really great to hang out with you today, and I'm looking forward for another Illustrator challenge. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.